Well, several school districts in Georgia returned to in-person classes this week, as Evan just mentioned, and you just heard him say this photo became viral, showing a crowded hallway with high school students packed shoulder to shoulder, and not many of them are wearing masks. It's raising a lot of concerns about safety. The picture also got the Georgia student who snapped the photo and tweeted it out, briefly suspended from her school. Now, the school has since reversed that decision and will allow the sophomore to return to classes on Monday. Now, that student is speaking about why she shared that photo.
I mostly know that even though these things aren't enforced, I know that what I'm doing is right, and I'm not only helping myself and the people at home, but I'm helping everyone around me. And that really kind of motivates me to keep on doing it, because I have immunocompromised people at home, and I myself have had asthma since I was a kid. So it really does motivate me to help not only my family, but everyone around me.
She went on to echo the late John Lewis, saying that she was getting herself into, quote, good trouble. Well, the superintendent of that Georgia county saying in part, some in the news media and some individuals on social media are taking this photo and using it without context to criticize our school reopening efforts. Shan Wu is a former federal prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney. Shan, that student was suspended for a conduct violation of using a phone without permission. As we know, the school reversed that decision, but that doesn't sound like a mea culpa from the school administrators there, saying A, that this was taken out of context, and B, that it was just a few minutes in the hallway in passing and didn't speak to the larger issue as to how the school was handling it. What is your take?
Well, that's right, Bianna. It's certainly far from a mea culpa. They're really doubling down. I think the principal later said that in the future, any negative type of publicity would have consequences. This is really just a tip of the iceberg of legal issues confronting these schools as they open up. There are going to be their attempts to comply with the rather sketchy guidance they've been given in terms of health and safety. That type of compliance is going to evaporate in the face of crowded hallways, maskless students. This was a very bad case. The school was wise to cut and run when they could. You couldn't have a more prima facie example of selective enforcement. The idea that she was going to be suspended or disciplined in any way for talking about this really important public health issue is the First Amendment right. And basically what they're saying is we're only going to punish negative speech, not positive speech. And that's just simply wrong. I mean, in a pandemic, it's an opportunity to teach students, not punish them.
And as she said, she got herself into good trouble, and we're thankful for it because this brings about a national conversation about what's happening in some of these schools as they're starting to reopen to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And I want to ask you, as more schools across the country begin to open in the coming days and weeks for in-person classes, what rights do students and I guess their parents really have if they want to talk about what they're seeing, if they want to bring public attention to it for the safety and well-being of not just themselves, but their peers?
They have the perfect right to do that. It's called the First Amendment in the Constitution. The only limit to that is if they're doing something to disrupt the school. So this idea that the school really is going to enforce the use of cell phones in the hallway, I mean, that's just silly. They'd have to suspend the entire high school. But were a student to do something that disrupts the classroom, or typically you'll see this type of issue, I see it in my practice defending students, where a student has surreptitiously taken a photo of someone trying to embarrass them, maybe something offensive, that's different. But if parents and students are speaking out and even taking pictures about conditions they think are unsafe, they have a perfect legal right to do that, and the schools would be wise to avoid the courtroom on that issue.
Shan, does that apply to teachers as well, especially teachers that are part of a union?
It does apply to the teachers. When you're an employee and you have more strict rules about your conduct, a little bit more leverage on you than for the students. But the unions should be speaking up for the rights of their employees, the teachers, to speak out against dangerous conditions and to make sure that they're safe. With this type of a situation, an employer can always claim, oh, you're somehow being insubordinate, you're undercutting the mission of the school. But again, schools need to be very careful in balancing this public interest issue, because a public health crisis like this, one we've never seen before, it really is an opportunity for people to shine as well as to be fearful. And we want to show our teachers, our parents, and our students that we can abide by our principles even in the midst of fear.
Well, thank you so much for laying this out for us legally. It's so important that we have teachers and students and parents that feel comfortable, and if they see something, they've got to say something, and in this case, tweet something if it's not right. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Good to see you.